Hey everyone, Mike Katz here with today's Trader Takeaways. Thanks for joining. Hope everybody had a great weekend. And let's go over today's action. A big down day in the market. The spiders had a pretty big range, selling on volume. Let's look at the daily real quick here. And we are testing that 255, 250 area, which is the low here after putting in this lower high. And the market just keeps on drifting lower after last week, most of last week being sideways chop between 259 and 265. Today we kind of cleared lower and we kind of closed towards the low end of that range, a little bit below, and we'll see if there's any follow through for the next couple of days. But a lot of action, a lot of movement. Personally, I didn't do too well today. We'll go over exactly why, but it was just a chain of events. But looking at the SPYs, you could see what's going on there. We are drifting lower, lots of volatility, and that's where I got hurt today as well in the SPYs. Let's look at that real quick. So let's back up for a second. I want to talk about SLS because that one which is the one that kind of started my poor trading, and I think that kind of forced me into these bad habits, and it was a trigger for a lot of poor trades. Well, shouldn't say a lot of poor trades, a few poor trades, and then just also compounded with lots of volatility and position sizing too big. So let's see what's going on here. So in SLS, it was a nice move right on the open. Seemed like one of those trash companies that goes up and usually gives you a nice pullback, and I was able to nail the open. I got a really nice fill right up here, somewhere here near 650, right on the open, and I was giving it till $7. Wanted to see it kind of top out, and it did. So it came in, and I covered half down here at pre-market highs. So at this point, I'm doing well. Got a pretty nice start to the morning, and this thing just ends up coming back and curling up and going higher. So I stop out, I add more here near 6, and I stop out there at 6. But then I started committing a couple errors, and I marked them on the chart here. Error, meaning that I kept retrying to short, and I even got caught up in a halt that ended up halting for 10 minutes instead of 5. So that was not really a fun one. And before you know it, I was stuck pretty good, and my performance didn't do too well. So these are the executions in SLS. So let's see, I nailed that opening fill, covered half, and then added back and stopped out at 6, right above 6. But the error was to continue to retry. By this point, I was stuck and getting halted on and playing defense, and you guys could see all the executions here where I'm getting in, getting out, doing a whole lot of trading. But then I just kind of took a step back after I was stuck for a while, and I said, you know what, this is still trash. I don't see any real reason for this thing to run up. All the usual suspects that are usually pumping and dumping these types of stocks are around, and I finally refocused and was able to chip away at quite a bit of those losses. So at right around here, at around $10 or a little bit lower, I added some size, added more when it started working here, covered some down here near 8, and waited for it to come back. Topped out right at $6. Got a couple of good fills here near, I shouldn't say 6, I should say $10. Got a couple of really good fills here near $10. And if it was going to reclaim 10, I was going to be done with it and stop out. But it ended up getting rejected by 10, which allowed me to cover. And I really thought this thing was going to go to 6 or 7, but it ended up holding up. So I covered most of my position, and I was able to chip away at most of the losses in this. It wasn't a fun one in the morning, but was able to chip away at quite a bit. But I think what ended up happening was I ended up trading the SPYs and TVIX a little bit poorly, and part of it probably had to do with just the pretty decent sized loss on my screen. And let's see, one error that I'll mention right away is in SPY. Let's see, I remember this one which was a pretty costly one, right? And when I start making these types of errors, I know that I'm not trading well. I should be doing less. And the example here is right around 10:15. I shorted. Let's see if we can look at a little bit more zoomed in. So I shorted here, this bounce into resistance right there and came deep into this consolidation. My stop was above here. And when it came back down, when it came this deep into it, I said, you know what, this will probably stop me out. This will probably go up. I'm already stuck so much. Let me minimize the loss on the SPY. And I ended up cutting off a winner right here, trying to break even. I guess I had my retail hat on at this point, and I missed out on a really nice big move on the SPYs. And then afterwards, it was just a few trades where I would try to, you know, pick a bottom or join trend on the short side, and then by that time there was no more trend to the downside, and it was just a matter of, let's see. So I remember trying one long here when it got parabolic to the downside, but stopped out of that pretty quickly. And then here just started trading on the short. A couple of times they worked, and let's see. So, you know, just being sideways, chopping around, taking highs, and to stop me out. And same goes for TVIX. Bought a dip here thinking this would be a higher low versus here. Added more, but then puked it out when it didn't hold. And then here also, I thought this would be a pullback. As you could see, thinking wasn't very clear. You know, after the big moves, I'm buying on the pullbacks, and that was just that kind of a day. So finishing in the red. There'll be some reviewing going on for me tonight. I think that maybe what I'll end up doing is for the next few days just trade smaller again, and maybe just minimize my P&L window and just focus on the trades, not necessarily look and trade off of the profits and losses. And I think that should help quite a bit. So it's a start for a new month. Excited about April. Looking forward to what the market has to offer. We have volatility. We have quite a bit going on, and it's definitely exciting to see, and hopefully we can capitalize on them. So there was quite a bit of news and individual names as well. You had, you know, ALKS that gapped down. A lot of the biotech, I shouldn't say biotech, the tech names. Apple had some news. Intel had news where they were potentially, Apple would be making their own chips instead of getting them from Intel. So that ended up chopping down, but then came back up quite a bit. Netflix, they had a few trades in there, probably up a little bit, but nothing great. And then Tesla, also in the news quite a bit. So a lot of action, and I think my goal for the next couple of days is going to be to do less, zone in on a couple of symbols, trade smaller, and just try to get back to hitting a couple singles and doubles. So that's my takeaways for today. 7 Points Capital, Mike Katz. Thank you guys for watching.